everybody, and welcome to another holiday hobby Q&A live. What do we do here? Well, we sit around for an hour or so. We'll see how long we go. And we answer all of your hobby-related questions. So over on this side of the screen, is that right? Nope. It's that side of the screen. Exactly backwards. We've got... There's a little comment, a little chat area. You can put in your chat there. I realize I don't need these. I'm going to take these off. It's more comfortable with the hat. And, yeah, I'm going to do my best over the next hour or so to answer your questions. I see that Crazy Horse, one of the three Vinces, is in the chat. And he said, use this pictures under copyright review. Hilarious. Yes, thank you both to Anthony and to Jacob for that amazing image. That was truly a wonderful day and something I look forward to seeing everybody again in person at Adepticon. Missed everybody these past couple years. Holidays are for getting together with the people you love, and so hence this. Why? Because I'm truly grateful and thankful, and it's a gift for me to be able to share this channel and my hobby journey with all of you. So I thought, what better thing to celebrate than to get together and do a little hobby Q&A. All right. So with that being said, let's jump in to the questions. Okay. So let's see. Martin said his mom is taking her first steps in the hobby and has some questions. Martin, your mom has all the answers she needs. I'm happy to help. I see. We're going to get a visit from the dogs as well right at the beginning. This is my wife. Say hello.
Hello.
There you go. Hello.
Merry Christmas. Where am I looking? Which?
What's that?
Which camera?
That's where you're looking. That's the camera.
Oh.
Yes. Anthony's on. A lot of people are here. People are filing in. People
Martin's
have questions. Yeah. Your dog is still loud. Yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. Or if you don't celebrate anything, then happy end of December. I hope you at least got some time off. So there you go.
All right. Enjoy.
Okay.
Bye.
I love you, dear.
I tried to put the hat on your dog. It didn't work.
I'm sure. All right. So, Merry Christmas, everyone. And there you go, little dog visit. And now we'll do some hobby questions. Okay. So let's see. How does one clone themselves to be more productive? You've got to ask those weird aliens on Camino. They'll help you out. Vince, any more thoughts on New Maggotkin? I think it's going to be a good book for people who like Nurgle. I think it'll be competitive and right in the middle. I think it's a very well-written book. Let's see. I see TP Grant said he's working on some fulminators for Holy Wars. Very nice. I just finished up all my fulminators. I'm actually working on my dragon riders right now. That'll probably go with me to Holy Wars. So how about that? Shannon says Merry Christmas from Singapore. Awesome. Let's see. Hey, Joe Orthover, how you doing? Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to you, Terry. All right, Martin says, question. My mother has some Star Wars Rocky Crag scenery that I said would be best painted via dry brushing. Can you please explain dry brushing in a beginner sense? Sure. Dry brushing is when you use a relatively thick paint and you take a brush that is usually like this is what I would recommend, something like a makeup brush. You dab the flat part of it into it, and then you wipe it on some surface until you've extracted most of the liquid, being the idea. So that could either be a paper towel or kitchen roll or whatever you call it wherever you live, or a piece of cardboard or something like that. And then leaving only a small amount of pigment left on the end of the bristles. You then run it back and forth, which will lead it to it having a rougher texture, / also catching only on the edges, allowing you to both simulate the texture of rocks, but also the fact that edges of rocks tend to be more worn as they weather easier. There you go. Hope that helps. Poodles. Poodles wants to know, I'm going to move my screen over here so I can watch the live thing and so I can see what's happening live and the other one. There we go. Okay. Now I can see both. If I look to the sides, it's because I'm looking at the new questions versus what's currently scrolling in the chat. All right. Hobby question. Really struggling with getting good straw hat colors. How would you approach painting a Japanese straw hat? Well, it's not yellow. That's the first key. It's ochre to sepia. And so straw is generally actually much more of a white sepia color. It's a lot like blonde hair. There's a lot of similarities. So a more brown infused ochre, something like an English uniform. Yeah, here we go. Something like that. Right? Then highlight it up with an ivory color is going to actually simulate straw. You can use things like a Seraphim Sepia or any kind of sepia ink or something like that to then further reinforce the soft brown tones that are in there. Okay. Oh, hey, Goobs. What's up, Goober Town? Merry Christmas to you, brother. Hope you're doing well. You're definitely Thor, by the way, Goober Town. I think that's perfect. I think you've got Thor covered. You are definitely worthy. Okay. Michael Warner, I'm looking for tips to paint an undead force that is walking around under moonlight. All right. First tip, don't do it. There we go. Easy enough. Now, okay, why don't do it? Because it's not going to really sell at an army scale, because we don't view miniatures under moonlight. Your army is viewed under a yellow light most of the time. Most things in your office or your room or places where you are, or a tournament or gaming halls or gaming stores, are yellow tinted lights. So they're in the lower part. They're like 3500 to 4500K, meaning they're very yellow, meaning they feel more warm and homey, but they don't sell cold light. So there's this immediate clash your brain has of this thing is reflecting blue light, which is very much on like the high end of the spectrum. So it's like 6500K plus. And so there's this immediate clash. A lot of people ask me this question. This is a very common thing people want to do. And the problem is it works fine for display pieces where you can really control the lighting and take a picture with a black background and, do the appropriate color adjustment. At an army level, it doesn't work as well. Now, that being said, if it's something you want to do because it's something you really love, that's fine. Then the key is you need to turn the bone from warm white, like it normally is, into cold blue white with something like Glacier Blue. And that's it. You just paint the bones and the skeletons and all the highlights, use a universal highlight color of Glacier Blue, and that's it. There you go. So, okay. Let's keep moving. All right. No, Photon, I ran up. That was why I was late, because I realized I forgot my hat, actually, so I had to go run up and get it. Let's see. James says he's watching from work from home. Very nice. Working on Christmas Eve / Christmas Day, depending on where you are in the world. That's rough. James, hey Vince, just want to say thank you for being a proper legend this year. As always, inspired by your work and has helped me get through a tricky year. Have a banging Christmas. Well, thank you very much. That means a great deal to me, and I'm very happy to help. Let's see. Different James. When they eventually get to the Korn book, what models would you like them to release with it? I don't know that Korn needs any new models. Korn probably has too many models. I would almost rather see them cut models. Yeah, I don't honestly know that there's anything new they need. But what I would love to see is the Blood Altar actually have some real cool, awesome rules, because that's like my favorite thing in that army, and it has always been bad. So how about that? That's my answer. Crazy Horse question: now that you've been converted to a Fall of Nurgle, when will the 24-hour army painting happen? I've painted a lot of models from that already, painting 5 models. I don't know. I honestly thought about it, Anthony, is the honest answer, but I'm not sure. Probably 2022 sometime, whenever I get broken by it. Hey Vince, first things first, thanks for all the hobby cheating and rain in hell. Awesome. You're welcome, FS. War Machine, are you considering Kragnos and Gargants for 2022? Not as a tournament list. I mean, yes, I'll play them a bunch. I'll mess with Kragnos and a lot of different things. My Kragnos, he's right there. You can barely see him, but he's in the background there. He is, painted up not exactly in the style of my Giants, but with a similar basing scheme. My giants are obviously all Frankensteinian monsters, so I'll run in with everything. I have all the destruction armies except Gits, so I'm sure there you go. Nathan said just sent you the tweet. Okay, cool. Yep, I'll take a look, Nathan. Danny, watched your snow-based video from a few years ago. Wondering if you have any new products or techniques you've liked using since then. My honest answer is it's pretty similar to what I do. You know, I mix up a mix of baking soda, white glue, water, and some snow material. Specifically, this snow material, soft flake snow. This is from Woodland Scenics, from a place that doesn't exist anymore in my town because they closed. But that's what I use. Then I just drop a little glue water mix or gloss varnish on the top to simulate melting snow or ice, and then drop around a bit of the rough snow. You can use the pigment. One of the things you can use if you want glistening snow is pearlescent pigment. Pearl X powdered pigments makes a wonderful pearl white pigment right here that you can mix into your snow, and that'll give it the sparkly look that snow often has in sunlight. So there you go. All right. Christiane, happy holidays, Vince. I'm very happy to help, and I'm glad that all the videos are helping. Okay. Let's keep moving. Photon Wolf, looking at doing a classic Japanese Oni paint scheme, but unsure on how to do the tiger pelt clothing. Yeah, go back and watch my video on, ironically, go back and watch my video on, when I painted that big squig, when I did the tiger squig, because that'll give you the concept of how to do tiger stripes and stuff like that. So if you watch that video, I actually talk through how to paint things like tiger stripes. I'm doing it on a flat surface, but it doesn't matter. The same rules apply whether it's a fur surface or a flat surface. Kelly, what's the best way to make sure your airbrush gets clean after shooting enamels? Should I use a secondhand airbrush to be safe and save my Iwata? No, I mean, I put enamels through there. White spirits will clean it out. That's generally what I use. Obviously, be fully masked up for that and have your hood running and all of that kind of stuff, both for the white spirits and for the enamels themselves. All that stuff is highly toxic, especially when aerated. You do not want to be breathing that. Make sure you have ventilation, things like that. But yeah, just some white spirits will clean it out. Then once all that's through, I just use alcohol to scrub everything out one more time and good to go. Corey, question, ever hobby from the couch or not at your desk? No. This is where I hobby. Sometimes I will hobby in the other room. There's another room. You saw, I think Sam shared a picture of us sitting at my big table out there, which is my D&D table. When I have people over for VinnyCon, that's where we hobby from. But then I just take a pallet out there. I mean, the simple answer would be, get yourself something like a small wet palette you can take with you, a couple brushes and stuff in a pack. If you have like the exemplar wet palette here, which is what I'm using, which is from Game Envy, I really like because it has a little space inside it where you can store brushes and things like that. But keep a limited paint selection, few brushes, cup of water, and your palette, and you're good to go. That would be my answer. Which books would you recommend in regard of mini painting? Both things from James Gurney, so Color and Light is really good. As well as his other, what is his second one? Oh gosh, I own both of them and have read both of them, and now I don't remember the other one. But yeah, James Gurney. Those are probably the best two books, because mini painting comes down to understanding light, and those two books really deal with light and fantasy creatures really well. So that's my easiest recommendation. There's a lot of other books. They're all fine, but I particularly love those two. Getav, happy holidays, Vince. Does adding scale 75 Inktense inks to standard paint pots intensify the color? Yes. Although you have to make sure that it's the same color. Like, it's going to make them more... Those inks tend to be, pretty, like, in a certain color. Like, it's very red or it's very, purple or whatever. So if you add it to a sort of thing that's not truly red, you're going to make that paint much more just red. So if it was supposed to be an off red or a mixed pigment in some way, it's going to, dilute that and make it just more pure red. TP Grant question: how do I me? That's a TP. That's the question we all must ask ourselves every day that we wake up, and you'll answer it anew every day. The real trick is that there is no one answer to how do you me. You me differently every day, and certainly different as you change throughout your life and grow and everything, as we all do. There is no one you. There's only the many yous you experience as you pass through this thing we call existence. All right. Hey, Dorn Jr. James, how do you personally resist the urge to obtain too many models, STLs, and stick to a manageable amount? Because the unpainted things hang over my head like the sword of Damocles and cause me great agita, so I don't do it. I take very little reward from purchasing things. I am extremely cheap and frugal. So spending money does not give me pleasure. Hence, I have no. I don't. I pass things by very easily. Yeah, I mean, my best answer is be super cheap. Here's a real tip. Let's talk about how we make this actionable. Here we go. If you're going to spend, here's a rule that I live by. If you're going to spend more than $20 on something non-essential, so, groceries or don't count, or, your heater goes out, obviously that's going to be more than $20 and that doesn't count. Those are essential things for your life, right? So we're beyond shelter, food, clothing, etc. If you're going to spend $20, more than $20 on a single thing, wait 2 weeks. Don't buy it. Put it in some kind of add to later, save for later. Wait 2 weeks. See if you still want it. If you do, if you think about it a lot and you willingly come back to it, okay, buy it. If not, you probably didn't want it that much to begin with. You were just tricked. So, there you go. Let's see. Mega T Cash. Happy holidays to all you legends. Hey, happy holidays to you. All right. Sam, airbrush question. Do you still use washes as part of your airbrush workflow? If so, when? If not, how to ensure you have enough recess shading? Sure. Yeah, sometimes. It depends on what I'm trying to do, right? If you watched the all about the airbrush video with the dragon, I used an oil wash, right? It just depends on what I'm trying to get at. And it depends on the particular process. There's no set order I do things in. It's what do I need to do for this project. So, with the dragons for these Dragon Rider guys from Stormcast, I did the whole mini and then did a streaking grime wash all over it and wiped it off. And then went back in a little bit with the airbrush to smooth some stuff out. And then went back in with a brush. That happened to be my order there because I thought that would be the one that worked best. But, you can always just, as I talk about in the airbrush, in the Ultimate Airbrush Guide, you can recess shade with your airbrush just by creating whatever the opposite is of zenithal, nilidial, I don't know, something like that, highlight. You shoot a dark color like a Payne's Gray from below, you'll achieve a lot of the same effect in creating shadows. The problem with washes in general is that they don't actually create realistic shadows. They, a shadow that's up on the top, a crease that's up on the top of something here on the top of my shoulders is not going to be as dark as the thing under my arm or whatever, right? So I don't tend to wash things fully unless I'm speed painting, in which case, yeah, grip it and rip it, baby. TP Grant, how do I make painting fulminators not a chore? Impossible. There is no answer to that. What do Gloomspite gets need to be competitive? A new book. Easy answer. Let's see. Okay. W. Soren, I'm starting an Emperor's Children force and I would like to shift from a dark purple to a flesh tone highlight. How would you do that gradient? Exactly what you just said. It's yep, that. Flesh, various and sundry Caucasian flesh tones are generally great for highlights of purple. I don't know, a royal purple to a hex lichen, then to some kind of medium or sunny skin tone. That's probably all you need. That's good enough. You're done. You might not even need 3 paints. You could probably just use add dark purple and then that. Yeah. Mega T Cash said my whole home is blue white light. That's very unusual. Most people do not use 6,000K bulbs throughout their whole house. But okay. Uh, MJ, question. I see a lot of pro painters work up from black primer. What is the pros and cons of black versus a zenithal prime? Sure. I'll try to answer this succinctly because I am working over black on these guys. There are lots of pro painters who zenithal, and there are lots of pro painters who just work from black. And the key is they do that because they're pro painters and they know how to sort of work with whatever the starting surface is. Now, why do one versus the other? Okay, when you start over just black, you are creating the lighting scheme. Richard Gray does it because he's sort of a penultimate example, because he's not usually creating a zenithal light. He's creating a very specific lighting schema, usually with a hard directional light. Like this area here is going to be hard lit. When you're trying to control the light very distinctly, he has to build up to that. If you're trying to do any kind of ambient environmental lighting, doing like an above zenithal when your light is actually two different directions of different colors isn't helpful. So some people will basically do grisaille, which would be the proper term for this when it's not just light from above, and they'll use that to start just to make painting easier. For anybody who's not like, here's my question: if you ask the question, which one should I use, you should use zenithal. That's the easy answer. Okay? Because if you ask the question, it means you sit at a place in your journey of knowledge that it's going to be the most beneficial with you to have the light mapped in some readable way on the figure, and then be able to understand how to paint it better. Your colors will be more true over the top of it. It takes less layers. It's easier to actually paint. More colors become easier to utilize. That kind of thing. Like, you reach a certain level where you're going to know what you want to do because you know how to use all of your tools to such a level of expertise. And I don't mean that with any insult, so please don't take it that way. It's just, there's certain questions that by asking the question, you've given your answer, right? Because you just don't have that knowledge. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, that's the journey we all go on. That's life. Hey, Ben Cantor, how you doing? Merry Christmas to you, brother. Saga of Dice. When you use pigments, do you put them on with a varnish, or how do you go about painting with them? I'm using Green Stuff World pigments to paint potions on Gobsprak, not doing terrain, etc. for context. That's an interesting use of them. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to use them as paint, you can just mix them with a little varnish or medium or something, and that will have them set. But sure, like if I'm using pigments on something and I want to lock it in, a varnish over the top will work fine. Do I have this year's Red Gobbo and Squig? I do not. James, how do you erase errors where your brush slipped and put a blob where it does not belong? I wipe them away real quick when it happens. Like, I keep an extra brush next to me that's not, and just scrape it away. Generally, like, flood the area with water and just wipe it away. That's why I often varnish multiple times in the middle of work, so that way it's, so that way there's a layer of varnish and I can just wipe it down. Or if it won't dry, you just paint back over it. No big deal. Easy peasy. Redone Valkia would be really good. I did miss that. That would be a good one. I changed my answer. That one. Rerolling ones, Jack. What is the proper way to apply washes? I kind of just slather it on there. I've recently started diluting it and stepped my painting game up. Yeah, in general, so applying washes. You should have some moisture in your brush. It should not be just a dry brush. You should apply it on there. You can take the wash and mix it with medium if you want it to be really thin, like a contrast medium or Lamia medium. The key is your brush needs to be always moving. The channel's gone, I believe now, but I think somebody has re-uploaded all of Darren Latham's stuff. But he's the best example I can give you. Like, watch Darren Latham work. I'm sure somebody's done a re-upload of all his videos. But he used washes exactly the correct way. And effectively, you apply it and then just keep working it around and pushing. Like, your brush shouldn't leave the miniature. You're pushing it into all the spaces, smoothing it out, and you keep going back. Like, this is where I applied the wash. And I come back, and I come back, and I come down, and I come back, and I go push here and there, and then, that's how, right? You constantly be working the brush around, working the wash smoothly out. Michael, question. Any advice on swamp basing? Having trouble selling the effect without overshadowing the model itself with foliage. Yeah, I've done some videos on swamp basing, but the answer is keep it pretty simple. A little bit of a thin layer of like water effect on the bottom, some moss, which you can buy like old um, train board flock, and that's a good way to do to moss. You just drip it in there with some varnish or something. I've done that in a couple of videos. Like I did it in my sewer basing video. I showed the moss trick. So there you go. And then just little tiny reeds, something like that, like little tiny grasses or little tiny tufts. It doesn't need to be anything big. People will get it if it's wet and swampy. They'll get it. Let's see. Play painted. Hey Vince, I'm a full-time commission painter and I find myself painting primarily Star Wars Legion. How would you paint a bright, glowing lightsaber? Well, assuming you're like OSL is its own question. I'll leave that to the side. I have videos on OSL. I'll go watch them. Now, that being said, with a round surface that's lit from the inside, it's very tricky. But the answer is effectively you need to pick two vision points on the miniature, which are usually like this on the angle of a lightsaber. And there needs to be a white line going down the middle of it. And then it works out around the surface to a true version of the color. So like if it's a red lightsaber for a Sith or something, it's like white down these two sides and then white down here. And then it works around to a true red. That's I think the good example. I'm pretty sure Rodrigo Accore did a big scale one a long time ago. Like he converted a model into a Sith, and he had a really magnificent take on it. Martin, question. This one's for me. Any tips on smoother pupils inside eyes? Smoother pupils. I mean, it's really hard in this scale to paint pupils, like the black dot. But my best example is mix a good flowing fresh black paint with a little bit of like Payne's gray ink and some Surfactant or something like that with an ultra sharp brush and just confident touch. It's just something you got to practice. Ungface, hey Vince, what do I do if I can't decide on a color scheme? Google other people's versions of that miniature slash army slash whatever and just spend an hour or so looking at pictures and find what grabs you. And if that doesn't work, then paint a couple and just go nuts and see what happens. You can just prime over them when you settle on your actual hobby or your actual scheme. That's generally what I do. Okay. Let's see. Happy holidays, Vince. Any idea what might be waiting for you under the tree? Yeah, I've got a few ideas. I'm pretty excited. It's going to be a good Christmas, I think. Play painted, Vince. I'm looking to get into the YouTube hobby content creating game, and I was wondering if you ever plan to make a video about how you create content and videos. Oh gosh, maybe, but I don't think you'd find my process very interesting. You should watch somebody like Miniac. I think has done a video on it. I know Adam talks about it some. Like they would be much better than me. I'm terrible at content. I barely know what I'm doing. I'm really trying hard this year to step up my content, as you'll see in some future videos. I'm trying to really like up my game. New mics, new camera settings, dialing things in, better editing, stuff like that. But I'm a bad person to ask. I'm a teacher first and a video creator distant second. I just bang my head against it until it works. Drumas, I was going to try and learn airbrushing at a higher level than just base coating, and I was going to do Nurgle Demons for the learning. Would you recommend anything for upping my game? I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I mean, yes. Nurgle Demons are a great thing to practice, like, upping your airbrush game on, because they're bright and they're colorful, and there's tend to be, like, mono texture, other than, like, spilly guts. So, yeah, like, that's great choice. Let's see. Worm Weekly, Merry Christmas. I'm starting a Maw Tribes army in the new year and would like to do a ancient Gaelic theme. Do you have any tips, please? Sure, go watch my videos on doing detailed or complicated tattoos. I have a few of them. I assume you'll want to have like the Gaelic style, tattoos. So that would be my best advice. Because other than that, you could kind of go nuts. Let's see. Hey Vince, I'm getting an airbrush for Christmas. I'm excited for this next step. My painting with normal acrylics. Is it okay to paint with a window open? Sure. You can also just get a hood, like a little fold-up hood from Amazon or eBay or something, and run the fan. It goes through a HEPA filter. It'll generally be fine. If you're concerned, obviously you should kind of be wearing a mask. But if you have a mask on and you're running that, it's fine. No issue. I mean, it's acrylic paint. It's non-toxic. Doesn't mean you want to breathe heavy paint fumes. But you know, if you've got a mask and a air filter running through the back, you're good. Let's see. Chinum, do you think there is a faction that is in dire need of updating their models? Skaven. Easy answer. Oh, thank you, Golden Rogue Minis. Happy Christmas to you and your family as well. Mirbu said he's going to say Skaven. Got him. Exactly. Tim Reardon, Merry Christmas to you. Starting an Ironjaw's army and would like to know what is a good dark yellow for their armor. If you're actually looking to dark yellow, watch my painting an Ironjaw's army over a week and you'll see the exact yellows I use. That's my advice, Tim. I did a video on painting a whole Ironjaw's army in 5 days and I painted them yellow. So check that out. It's got all your colors in there. Top 3 factions that need new models. Skaven. Probably a lot of old... trying to think of who else. So, like, definitely Skaven. There's still a fair amount of old Seraphon stuff. And then... maybe Ogres. Chaos Dwarves. Got them. Alright, there we go. Hey, Vince, could you quickly go over what instances you would use varnish before completion of a model? All the time. Anytime. You feel like varnishing it. There you go. That's what it is. You can. I've varnished display pieces like a dozen times by the time I'm done, and I don't always varnish them at the end. You're trying to save your work, lock things in. You just did a very thin ink or a glaze, and it's a fragile paint. You used contrast. You want to matte things out so you can evenly get an idea of the true color reflection. Yeah, all of those things and more. Yeah, you can varnish like through your airbrush like 20 times throughout the life of a miniature. It's not going to hurt anything. So, yeah. All those and more. Let's see. Sorry, it jumped on me, so I have to scroll back here. Okay, there we go. Merelda, bonjour. Merry Christmas. Bonjour to you. All right, let's see. Ariel, hi Vince, thanks for all the videos and tips. Earlier in the year, I purchased an airbrush, and I feel I messed up some test models when I started. Would you strip them or just paint over them? Paint over them. Unless something primed poorly, like had orange peeling or texture in priming. If you screw up a prime, you have to strip. If it's normal paint, you can just keep on painting. Larry the Ogre here has been painted over like 40, 50 times in the history of this channel, and he is still looking twit as a tiger. I've never stripped him. I'm going to paint over him again, I promise. Let's see. Christopher McKinley, happy holidays to you. Let's see. Curious as to a very good process for very pale vampire flesh. I have a video on dead flesh with a recipe that's pretty good, but effectively it's going to be, you want like a mid-tone gray. Scale Color makes a color called Miskatonic Gray, which is actually pretty wonderful for this. You want purple depths with slight reds in the sub highlights, and then going to like a glacier blue highlight. That's an easy recipe. Like vampires still have blood in them, so you want a little bit of red here or there. That's their whole thing. They want blood, you know. It's kind of a vampire thing. Okay. Kendo, Merry Christmas to you. Painting question. Can you clean brushes with water if using inks or something else needed? Sure, you can still clean with water, though it's always good to use brush soap. If you get things stuck up in the ferrule, then you have to go all the way to get like a Winsor & Newton brush restorer. Works really well. That'll strip anything out of there. A good tip is keep a little bit, like in your paint water, keep a little bit of surfactant or a drop of dish soap or something like that in there. It'll help loosen a lot of that paint when you're initially dipping it in there and really free it from the depth of the brush, and it'll make it much harder for it to get stuck up in there. Washes, inks, and anything like that that's highly liquid has a higher chance to go up into the ferrule. That's the problem. And once paint is up in that ferrule, if it's not out of there, then you got to take pretty strenuous methods to get it out. Okay. Wiggle's bottom. Hi Vince, bit of a strange question. I'm someone that really enjoys the hobby, but being colorblind is a challenge, especially when I'm not super confident in my ability to paint. Any potential advice? Sure. So are you, like, I know there's a spectrum of color blindness there. And so, as to how people perceive color. And my answer is if it's a red-green colorblind type of situation where those are appearing more gray and things like that, but some part of the color wheel is still working for you and you can, your eyes read that pretty normally, um, then, work in those colors, like work in the colors you're comfortable in. The other thing I would say is in the end, the exact hue doesn't often matter. It's understanding value. And if you're still seeing tones of gray, then you're still seeing the important part. It might make you a better painter in the long run because you can focus more on value, which is what people often miss. People, I think, focus too much on color and not enough on value. Light, miniature painting is the study of light. And so as long as you, use sort of neutral highlights and neutral shadows, and then you're just picking some mid-tone in the middle that tends to reflect, a color that you're comfortable with. And I think that's really all you need to worry about. I think you can certainly, no reason you can't fully participate and probably be even stronger because it'll give you an advantage to focus in on what really matters, which is the light placement. Oh, Samuel, happy holidays to you. Let's see. Tassus, Merry Christmas. When do you think the November review video will be ready? I'm going to do November and December as one. Yeah, just because it got away from me this month. So I'm just going to roll them together and do them all as one video. Golden Rogue. Okay. Let's see. Cool. There you go. Neat. Okay. So he had some good advice there from someone else who's lived that life. So that's awesome. James, for an oil wash over a brighter red, I feel I should add some sort of red oil paint in the mix of my black and brown oil mix. If I do that, will it affect the shadows? I mean, you can. You don't have to, but sure, you could. Will it affect the shadows? Sure, it would make them less dark, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Kevin, wait. When it comes to pizza, do you like it? And if so, do you like it with pineapple? Yes, of course I like pizza. Who doesn't like pizza? Weirdos. Do I like pineapple? No. Pineapple is awful. My wife loves pineapple pizza, but she's crazy. Follow-up question, what are your feelings regarding peanut butter on a hamburger? I am allergic to peanut butter and will die if I eat it, so I would say against it. Let's see. A Rock with a cape. No question from me, just want to say thanks for all you do. Well, absolutely. Happy holidays to you, Rock. Hey, Vince, is there anything you can tell us about VinciCon 2021? The one we just did recently, it was a good time. We hung out, we painted some Golden Demon entries. It wasn't like anything too amazing. We did... it's just a good time for us to get together and paint. Those guys will appear in an upcoming video. I'll tell you that much. We did record a little something. Will we be seeing any more undesign in the future? I hadn't seen anything pop up on there for a while. It's a question. My co-host has been going through some real tough life challenges in the time of the pandemic, so it's something I'd love to return to someday. But I don't know. I really like undesign. I really like talking RPG games. It's something I'd like to do more of. I have a great passion for RPGs, obviously. If you know, you know. And, but it's a question of, I really like working with that co-host, but I'll see. I'm never going to rule it out. Grady, bruised coloration for Nurgle, black, blue, purple flesh tones. Yay or nay? The green scheme feels blasé. Wonderful. Also favorite art forms outside of miniatures. Yeah, sure. The bruised look is super fine and good, and he can be great. Oscar Lars did a video on it recently. And I think purple is a great tone for Nurgle. I think it completely sells. You don't have to be in the green tone. What are my favorite art forms outside of miniatures? Movies, number one. Movies are certainly an art form, and I'm a huge fan of movies. Live comedy is an art. I am a huge live comedy nerd, as well as live magic. I've seen a lot of live magic. I love live magic. I like, I really hate most ultra modern art. Like, I went to the Tate and did not enjoy it at all. I went to the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam and loved that quite a bit. The Potato Eaters is one of my favorite paintings of all time. I think it's a singular work of staggering genius. So, yeah. I like a lot of art. What is your favorite color to work with? Favorite color scheme, combination of colors? Easy answer. Teal, pink, purple. There you go. Autumn Lotus. Hey, Vince, have you ever used any Turbo Dork color shift paints? I have not. So I can't help you there, my friend. I'm sorry. I don't really like color shifters as a concept, so it's not probably um, not probably something I'm going to be able to ever answer. It's just not my wheelhouse. Mogwai, glad you enjoyed that. Oh, Goobertown just did a great weekend. That's right. Thank you. Yes, great shout out, James. Absolutely. Goob's video is awesome about this. Yes, 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 yes. All right. Fuzzy videos. What's your favorite mini painting technique to do? Oh gosh, I don't know that I have one. Um, I like to use. The best answer is whatever I didn't do last. I mean, really, that sounds silly, but I am someone who values novelty and change and stuff like that. So I just like switching things up. Faraday, how could I paint a moonlit model and yet still have a wider spectrum of interest hues in play? Well, moonlight destroys colors, but the answer is you can put a secondary light source in, like a warm fire or something that will make colors show more true in yellow, or you can push the warm shadows in general. Moonlit shadows are red, so you can kind of take that to sort of a million and really really over exaggerate it, and that can be an interesting journey as well. Okay. Curran, question for you, Vince. Do you have a New Year's resolution for your painting? For my painting, no. For the channel, yes, and you'll see that in a couple weeks. Okay, Camp K. Not painting related, but I remember a comment you made on weight loss from a member of GW. Have you ever struggled with it? And if so, how did you make it through to where you are now? Wow, you have a good memory. Yes, I was congratulating Ben Johnson, who's gone on an amazing journey, and I'm very, very, I'm proud of him and I applaud him. It's a tough journey. Yes, I used to weigh a lot more. I used to weigh like maybe 100 pounds more than what I do right now. How did I do it? I cut a lot of things out of my diet and exercise every day. I mean, I wish there was something else I could tell you, but I mean, I exercise about 45 minutes a day. I haven't had chocolate or any kind of processed sugar for 15 years. I don't eat anything that's sweet at all. I never eat desserts. I don't eat in between meals. I don't snack. Yeah, and I still am not where I want to be. But, we all have a journey. So, yeah, there you go. But I fully respect everybody else's journey. It's a tough one. And so, if that's something you're trying to do for yourself in a place you want to be, then know that I support you. It's tough this time of year. and by the way, if you are on that journey, it's okay if you take a day or two off around Christmas. You still have to actually get some kind of joy from life. All right. Spencer says he'd love to see more step-by-step walkthroughs. Spencer, I hope you keep that vote in mind for some videos in a little while. Okay. Let's see. What would you say is a good Skaven color scheme? Oh my gosh, there's so many different versions of Skaven color schemes, and they're all awesome. Whatever you like. I mean, you can have more albino rats, more traditional brown to tan colored rats. Red robes look cool. White robes, dirty white robes look cool. Classic green pestilent robes look cool. I really like orange robes on them. I think that looks awesome. Purple can be a great color. It's just Skaven are so wonderful because they just work in a million different colors. Okay. Let's see. Best way to strip Finecast without ruining it. LA is totally awesome. Yes, the Mortal Realms are sorely missing the Stumbly followers of Hushua. There you go. Any advice on getting out of a specific phase of the hobby? I enjoy all the steps, but for myself, sticking to the building phase because it fits into my schedule as a working dad of a 1-year-old. Yeah, I mean, set reasonable expectations of your painting. You have a young child who requires a lot of attention. Cool. Work with your partner and see if you can't set up a couple times. Maybe there's 30 minutes, a couple days a week, where it's just you. Maybe it's an hour if you can get the time, where you have no other commitments, and you sit down and you just paint. Have your station prepared. Have your palette ready. Have your paints ready. Have your paintbrushes ready. It can just be a little fold-up box you open up or something like that, right? So it's not at risk. And just set that time aside for yourself. Schedule it. And work on something that you find challenging but not frightening. And that's what's going to help you move out of that, right? It doesn't matter that you're not accomplishing a lot in any given week. Life isn't about what you do in minutes. It's about what you do in years. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And you'll be amazed if you do that for a year, what you'll accomplish. So there you go. Ariel, thanks. Hope you have a good Christmas. Same to you. Fire Ant Farm. Pretty sure you have a video on any question I might have, so I'll just say thank you. I'm trying. That's the goal. If I can get to maybe like 1,000 videos, I'll just have everything covered. And then I can just, all my future videos will just be referring back to previous work I did. Vincy Claus is better, Leon. Any alternative to Green Stuff World UV epoxy? Hey, I'm glad you asked. Yes, there is. So, let's talk about UV resin. Speaking of Goobertown, by the way, he did an awesome video on explaining the science of resin. But as I was messing with the Green Stuff World resin, it occurred to me that this can't be something they made. Like, other people do this, right? Like, UV resin is a thing. And so I looked around, and sure enough, it's used by a lot in, like, making paste jewelry or, like, little, costume jewelry making. And so you can buy big multi-packs of stuff like this. It's just UV resin hard. And this is 60 grams of it. And you can, it cures under UV light. You can cure it with a UV lamp or with sunlight, for example, will also work because that obviously has UV rays in it. And it dries. This is like super hard. It comes with a little different top that you screw on. But I bought a bunch of these and they were cheap and awesome. So yeah, there you go. Question: soft or hard cookies being left out for Santa tonight? Well, I don't leave out any cookies. Don't eat cookies. But back in the day when I did eat cookies, it's obviously soft cookies. I don't remember whether it was John or Scott, like who was arguing for soft cookies versus hard cookies, but it's obviously soft cookies. Who weirdos with your hard cookies? No, you want a soft cloud, like a cookie that tastes like you're biting into a cloud. It might have been 15 years since I've had a cookie, but I remember what they're like. A supercut of all the times Larry the Ogre has been painted would be a great video. Yeah, that would be fun. All right. Merry Christmas from Rayon. Struggling with Scale 75. Any advice on working with it? Yes, it is a thick paint. Either put it on a wet palette and thin it down to a normal consistency and then treat it just like a normal miniature paint, or apply it very thickly but with a small amount, like you put the tip of your brush into it, you get a little thick dollop, you touch the miniature, and then with the moisture in your brush should be wet, you then smooth it out and you paint on the miniature. What I mean by that is you're actually, we think often like a layer. I might blend it out, I go boop, 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 and that's it. No. You touch the dollop, and then you take the dollop and you start pushing it around. You push the paint, smooth the paint. There you go. That kind of thing. Patrick, what format do you like the most to play in Magic? Well, it used to be just traditional Magic, I guess. I don't even know, like, normal. If you mean, like, what cards are allowed, I was a Legacy player for a long time. I really love Legacy, if that's what you're talking about. Recently, though, as I'm much more casual with it, I've really been enjoying Commander, just super cash Commander, like going and getting the new Commander decks that come out whenever they release a set and just doing, fun one-on-one games or multiplayer games with Commander. With the stacked, the set decks, because then you don't have to worry about building anything. What color mix do you like for oil washing? What color mix do you like for oil washing? Gold or bronze? I don't tend to oil wash them much, but a pretty traditional burnt sienna plus black plus a little purple will serve well. Rethon, Vince, as a master of paints, have you ever experimented with acrylic gouache? Yes, I have. They're actually, you can see them in this shot. That's them right there. Those are acrylic gouaches. Yeah, they're fine. I've messed around with them. Obviously, they're, they're okay. I didn't really see any special properties to it. I'm going to talk about a new paint I've been using sometime soon on the channel that I actually really like. But yeah, they're okay is my answer. Nothing that made me want to keep going back to it. Paul, you studied philosophy. I did. Who is your favorite philosopher? Camus, probably, if we're going to do that. but I mean, I have a list. Um, um, but like, um, yeah, I don't know. The original, uh, I like the Stoics a lot. So Epictetus, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Aristotle is always a good classic. There's nothing wrong with that. Aristotle and Plato. Um, yeah, but there you go. That. How about that? Um, I also like Leibniz a lot. I found him to be very hopeful, but ridiculous, but hopeful. So there you go. If we're talking like classical philosophers, people who aren't really alive anymore. All right. Mad Freak question: when is a good time to use wet blending? I'm trying to get smoother transitions, and I don't know which blending method to use. Thank you and happy holidays. When is a good time to use wet blending? Okay, sure. Yeah, generally for laying down initial coats, whenever you've got a large flat surface, that's generally what it's easiest for. So if you have a large flat surface, that's going to serve you well to do a wet blend. Wet blending actually gets a lot easier if you use a bigger brush. Like the bigger your brush, the easier it is to wet blend. Because you want a larger, flatter surface to smooth and mix the paint together. So you don't think of like a boat in the ocean, right? The thinner the line it comes to, the more you create a wake. And you don't want that when you're wet blending. You want things to be smooth. You want a pontoon boat or something, you know. Okay, Hail Hydra, you often make magic references in your Wednesday videos, which I don't understand. Can you recommend a source that might help me follow along better, please? Sure. Mark Rosewater has done some videos. Those are generally pretty good. Yeah, that would be a good place to start. Okay. Let's see. Larvae, Merry Christmas to you. How often do I use reference? Pretty often. I'll often draw. I mean, reference is, I suppose if we're talking like from a reference photo, very rarely, like where I'm trying to recreate something I'm looking at or see. If you mean like, do I create a sort of vision board or, a collage of art? Yeah, very often. I'll often have inspiration folders and stuff like that. Michael Warner, best pop color to draw the eye. I mean, it depends on the overall composition of the piece, but human eyes are drawn to warm, bright colors, red, orange, and yellow, sort of preeminently among them. Let's see. Okay. All right, crew. Let's see. Oh, hold on. Sorry, it jumped ahead on me. Now I have to scan back. There we go. Okay, got it. All right. Philip, John Ryan. Hello, Vince. Huge fan. Just out of curiosity, how do you manage metal color flow off brush? I've not picked them up for a while, but I call them being runny. You always, like with all wet, extremely wet paints, your brush should never go from the paint to the miniature. It should go from the paint to a piece of paper towel or a cloth or something like that. Wick out the excess liquid and then on there. It's all you need to do. It makes them easy as pie to work with. You just touch the paint, touch the paper towel, touch the miniature. It's that easy. Okay. Let's see. Trifos, any advice for how much effort I should put into people that are part of a large base? For example, Slain, Space Marines, and the Forge World Primarchs. 80% of the effort you put into the main figure. How about that? That's the number. No, I mean, you don't want them to stand out, but you want them to look well painted. But they should also be rough, dead, so you can do things like pigment and stuff like that to mess them up and hide a lot of sins. How much sleep do you get a night? I try to sleep 7 hours a night. What do you think about the scale artist? The key with my schedule is I don't waste time. I always work. It's not that I don't sit down and just relax with my wife sometimes. I do, but then I'm working on something at the same time. Like, I don't just sit still ever. I work like if I stop, the devil's going to catch me. That's the key. There's a lot of hours in your day if you, just don't ever stop. What do you think about the scale artist colors, the tubes? They're fine. If you like a sort of almost heavy body acrylic, I have no issue with them. I use them sometimes. I think they're okay. They're very much like a slightly softer, heavy body acrylic. So if you like heavy body acrylics, you'll basically like these. They're a little bit easier version of those. There's nothing magical or special about them, but they're nice. All right. Thank you, Goobs. Farseer, hey Vince, if I drank your paint water, would I gain your power, at least become half as good looking? Well, first of all, that last part is definitely not true. I am not that. But as to gaining my powers, no, it would probably just be gross. But fortunately, I've made like 320 videos, and that is how you gain all my power. It's that easy. Christopher, do you have any artist interviews planned in 2022? No, not yet. But once we get back to conventions and I can start like talking to people in person again and setting things up, I do plan to do more next year. Yes, those will come back. But like I just want to go back and talk to people in person. It's generally an easier way to warm handshake it and then say, hey, would you come on my channel and be interviewed? Constantinos, Merry Christmas, Vince. Thank you for all the help this year. Hey, absolutely. What's the best brush on matte varnish? That would be AK Interactive or Ammo by Migs Ultra Matte Varnish. I understand Monument's going to come out with one soon as well. I haven't seen it yet. I hope Jason sends me some because I'm a big proponent of Ultra Matte. But any of those Ultra Matte varnishes, you can brush them on or use an airbrush. They work fine either way. Okay. Oh, there you go. The channel for Darren Latham stuff is not Darren Latham. Nice. Wiggle, I find your passion and enthusiasm for painting inspiring for someone that's painted for so many years. How do you keep yourself motivated to keep doing the thing you love? It's an addiction. You don't need to be motivated to do things you're addicted to. It hits every dopamine releasing nerve center in my brain. So painting is to me like breathing. I would feel bad if I don't do it. I get shakes if I don't do it for several days. So it's not really a question of how do I keep myself motivated. I draw incredible value from it, both short-term, long-term, whatever. Finishing a single armor plate on a display miniature or finishing a whole army in 24 hours. I vary my projects so I never get burnt out. I change the subject matter. I change the colors, the paints, the brushes, the things like that. I always value both novelty and experimentation and make sure that I'm always trying to grow and learn and challenge myself and such. In that way, it never becomes anything that's repetitive. So that's my answer. What's the difference between metallic varnish and regular gloss, and is there any value in metal varnish? I think it's basically just gloss varnish. I don't know if there's any difference in it. No, I can't tell. It's just a very glossy varnish. It might be like a very, very glossy varnish. That might be the answer. I can't tell. Thomas 5908. Okay. Patrick F. Just received an Archeon from my Slow Grow League as a thank you for running the league. Any building tips? Owner of 2 Archeons. Leave Archeons separate. You can probably attach the wings. They're not that problematic. But yeah, I mean, but if you want to, you can leave them separate as well. It can make your life easier. You just kind of pin them, and then they can sit in with pins. That way, you got them lined up and stuff. But definitely leave he himself separate, the Grand Marshal of the Apocalypse himself. Yeah, that's probably it. He's actually a pretty open model. Like he's kind of big and open. So he's big and unwieldy, but other than that, it's not annoying in any other way to paint. Andrew Simmons says the soft cookie meta. Absolutely. Let's see. Dr. Zeffy, I've gotten back into the hobby heavily during COVID. I'm super addicted to it now. There you go. How do you deal with the feeling of not painting fast enough to catch up with all the great minis out there? Just set your expectation reasonably and know that you're one human being and this isn't a race. Like I said, you've got decades, hopefully, of your life left to paint. There's plenty of time. There's always going to be more minis. There's always going to be things you don't paint and things that you do. And that's life. There's always a million things in life that we all wish we could have seen. You don't see lots of things. You don't get to do lots of things or experience lots of things. Don't get lost in the opportunity cost of what isn't. Value the enjoyment and the circumstances and the experiences that you have. Because if you don't pay attention to those, they brush by, and then you end up never taking value out of anything. So, let's see. Okay. John was trying to argue Oreos are the best. I mean, that's just insane. That's just insane, obviously. Will White, yes, I do hope to see everybody at Golden Demon next year, 100%. Gamble, why does Patrick Stewart look the same in Excalibur as he does now? It's a 40-year-old movie. Because when you reach max level, you stop. Hey there, Gary P. How you doing? Merry Christmas to you. Okay. What do you do outside of the hobby for work? I am a product manager for a major software company, and I design insurance software. So I do that kind of stuff. It is a very demanding job, but I like it quite a bit. I really like the Pinky Peachy Emperor's Children scheme. How would you approach recreating that? Brown Rose from Vallejo is a good place to start, but like beige red and brown rose and all of those kinds of things with just a little bit of purple as your shadow and so on and so forth. People shouting out Marcus Aurelius. Yes, he was a. I like Marcus Aurelius. Let's see. Paul says he taught that stuff this year. Very nice. Christian says, so here's what I don't get. Why are mini painters so obsessed with matte finishes? It looks awful on skin. It doesn't if you do it correctly. Because there's an easy example. I'll explain, Chris, why you want everything to be super matte. Because when you're painting light, mini painting is the study of light. And when you're painting value onto your miniature, placing light in places, in certain places, you're stating where the highlights are. And when you allow things to have a shine, and slight satin can have purpose. It's not that I completely disagree with you or something. Like, there can be purposes to slight satin sheens and stuff like that in certain examples. But a lot of display pieces, you want them to be completely matte because you've already placed all the lights. So when I turn the miniature around and move it, light shouldn't move. It's an area that's dark or shadowed or midtone shouldn't be casting reflecting white light because that's not where the light is. I've told you where the light is. That's what I painted. Okay, so that's what you want to basically put on there. Okay, so there you go. All right. John, what's your best advice for not letting paint get to the ferrule? I'm new to mini painter. I feel like it's happening as I wash my brush in water. Yeah, I mean, it's not probably when you wash your brush, but like I said, keep a little surfactant or a drop of soap or something like that in there, and that'll help a lot. But yeah, I mean, you just, with very wet paint, two things. Don't dip your whole brush into it and wick off on a paper towel. There you go. Okay. All right, we're gonna go into lightning mode here because we're over an hour. And these are all great questions, but I know that there's some stuff going on in the real world I need to get back to taking care of. Is there a decent silver or steel metallic pigment powder available anywhere that you know of? No. I can't think of one I really like. No, I can't think of one I really... Oh, steel? No. Yep, can't think of a steel I really like. There's the gold powders from Green Stuff World, and those are great, but I can't think of a steel. To practice skills, do you suggest to do so on a variety of models or pick one model and get duplicates on it? I'm aware.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. My answer is a variety of models is always going to do you better. Like, there's no reason not to vary your experience. You want challenges with things like textures and stuff like that, you know. Oh, shout out from Mark Rosewater's podcast. Yep, that is a good one. Okay. Farsi or Chibi. Hey, Vince, assuming we're aiming for a mid-tier paint job, how do you construct a plan to paint a mini? What do you prioritize? Value? Like, that I have an interesting composition so that the colors look interesting and in various places, and that I'm going to be pushing values. You're better off in a mid-tier paint job with a higher level of contrast and worse blending than you are the other way around. A flatter paint job that's blended super smooth is just boring and doesn't look interesting. Pushing your contrast and making sure you have a good composition. Those are the two things that jump out to you first. So there you go. What did your dogs get for Christmas? Squeaky toys. Miguel, Merry Christmas. Any advice for beginner getting into the hobby? Just bought a wet palette. My what to buy in your first 6 months video, Miguel, is my advice. I lay out the first 6 months and everything you should do, so check out that video. Adam, I'm about to start painting an SCE Army Raptors, Fulminators, and Vindicators. Any advice, color scheme, workflow, plan of attack in general? Oh gosh, that's a big question. Find a color scheme that you really enjoy. Find a way that it's repeatable, because it's going to be a lot. Paint one test model of one of the standard human people, and then go from there. Yeah, that's my best advice. Like, look through the book for inspiration at other people, and then search other people who've painted that scheme. Put together your painting thing, do one test model, and then cut the non-value add and replicate. Can I ask about the desk setup for using an airbrush? I have an airbrush, but I'm afraid to use it because I don't want to make a mess in the airflow or run wall. It's not actually that hard. You need a small desk, like a kindergartner 3-foot by 3-foot desk, and a little foldable hood, which you can buy off Amazon. Takes up almost no space. That's it. That's all you need. And then you put the little compressor under the desk. It can be in a tiny corner. You need like this much space for an airbrush. It's no room. And you just run that fan. It'll pull through the filter. Let's see. I'm using Reaper and Pro Acrylic paint, but I recently got a set of Chimera. Do you have any tips on how to ease into heavy body acrylics after using thin paints? Yeah, sure. Just add water and water them down and get them flowing on your wet palette. That's the easiest answer. Like, turn them into something that feels and looks and acts like normal miniature paint, and you'll be fine. Wolfen, hey Vince, just got here. Just want to say Merry Christmas. Thanks for all your work. Are you planning on getting the Chimera expansion set? Yes, I have it ordered. Mine will probably show up in January. Is Gobsprat good? He can be in the right armies. What does he need? Probably more survivability, honestly, but that's a big challenge. I'm thinking of picking up some Alclad, there we go, lacquer varnish for metals, but it's super toxic stuff. It is, but it is good stuff. Mirabal Vince, if I could give you any mini painted by someone else, what would it be? Might be a new mini painted by a friend or favorite painter, a classic Golden Demon winner, or studio heavy metal piece. Oh God. Any mini painted by someone else. I don't know. You'd have to let me think about that one. I've got a lot of pieces that have been very impactful to me, so I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. That's a tough one. I own a few other people's miniatures that I really love, but that I've gotten from other artists. But yeah, I don't know. Merry Christmas to you, useless wizard. How would you do a sun drop for mini heavy board games? I don't know what that means, Jack. I'm sorry. Merry Christmas from Western Australia. Merry Christmas, Jerome and Daniel. Absolutely. Hey, Andrew Wade. Andrew, you've been doing some amazing work recently, brother. I love everything you do. Andrew in the chat here, absolutely true artist, someone who inspires me. You know what? I'm going to answer my previous question. I actually want something of Andrew's. That's what I want. His stuff is awesome. Yeah, I love Andrew's stuff. He's like a truly inspiring artist, someone I could never paint like, because he just has a vision to create things in an amazing way. So there you go. That's my answer. I completely stand behind that. Check out his Insta. It's amazing. Okay. No, it has nothing to do with me being in trouble. It has to do with something in the real world that's going on right now. Just Christmas Eve preparation plus other things happened. No big deal. Okay, David, I sometimes find Vallejo metal colors almost too wet. When dry brushing. Yeah, like I said, wick off the excess liquid into a paper towel. Gray Seer came back into the hobby after a long gap during COVID. Really impressed by the community now, but often feel my painting is stagnant, never going to improve. How do you beat the hobby blues? You're always on your own place on the journey. Comparison is the thief of joy. It's a platitude, but it's true. The answer is work on stuff that challenges you. Pick a technique, pick a thing, pick a color, pick a whatever that you are going to find challenging and work it. Fail, learn, do it again. Fail, learn, do it again. Be average at it, fail, repeat, repeat, repeat. That's it. You always need to be challenging yourself. And any mini you paint, even if it's for an army or whether it's, or anything like that, can be a chance to learn something. Practice stippling. This is going to be my non-metallic thing. This is going to be where I practice stippling. This is where I'm going to really push contrast on something. This is where I'm going to try freehand, whatever. Learning every day, every mini, a little thing eventually fills out your toolbox of stuff you can do. Okay. Let's see. Victor, happy holidays. Any recommendation for airbrush shopping in the higher end models? I don't care much for fancy features and care about something good and reliable that's easy to clean. Yeah, I mean, like your classic, Infinity is a pretty great airbrush. There's really not much wrong there. Um, but the high end Iwatas are pretty nice. I really like them. They can do a pretty sharp line, so anything like that. Let's see. Oh, Merry Christmas to everybody. Hey Vince, do you have a process for composing bases for centerpiece models? I have problems coming up with anything that I'm satisfied with and appreciate some tips. Yeah, put a bunch of crap on them. That sounds silly, but I really mean that. Like, put stuff, just junk. Like, big models like that should just have a cross section of the world, It's like I just start pulling out bits and broken things and just throw it on there. Broken tree branches and rocks and walls and ship parts and anything like wood beams and just junk. Just make it interesting. Just put visual confusion around there. It can often be a scheme in and of itself. It's just like junk because it's a big old section of the world and you're painting somebody who's theoretically in an area where there's war going on, so a bunch of destroyed stuff kind of makes sense. So I painted Dorgar blue with some purple, but now I don't know how to do the glow under his scales. I didn't do any of mine with glow under the scales. I don't think it makes any sense. You have no need to do that. If you were going to do it, you would do it in like a hot white blue, but you don't have to. What do I think about Bone Slitter's Kragnos list after his changes? It could be interesting, I guess. I mean, I guess I'll have to wait and see. I'm suspect on anything Bone Splitters, but there's some people very excited about it. Let's see. Is it possible to paint an army in only mostly oil paints in a reasonable time frame? Yeah, sure. Because I mean, you're especially in an army, because you can just work the first layer of a whole, like, and blend out a whole miniature times a unit. Let them dry. Come back in a couple, work another unit. You could just let them dry like a week if you wanted to make sure everything was super cured. Then come back and do a second layer and you do your high highlights and stuff like that. Yeah, like army painting is actually a great way to use oil paints because you're not trying to just work on one fig and needing to set to the side and then do no more forward progress. You can move to the next unit or something like that. Ziggy, Merry Christmas, Vince. Actually catching a live stream without any stay up until 2 a.m. Yeah, indeed. Let's see. Boom. Pearl, Merry Christmas from France. Thanks for your vids helping a newcomer in AOS like me. Hey, wonderful to hear. Always happy to help. Hobbit, question, will we ever see you step into the 3D printing world? No, probably not. I just, like, I paint 3D printed miniatures because I've got a friend who's got a 3D printer, and so sometimes he prints stuff for me every so often. But it's just not a hobby I'm super interested in. I mean, if they make it, like, really dumb easy, like a home printer, then sure, maybe. But I'm not interested in a second hobby, and I don't have the patience to like watch videos and dial things in and all that kind of crap. As to like, I couldn't give you any 3D printing tutorials. I'm not sure, but I'm sure if you hit up Miniac or stuff like that, his recent 3D printing comparison video, I know he mentioned some discords and channels that are helpful, so I would check that out. Let's see. Coach Coco. Building textures and such. Been experimenting with them and seem to have a leather and basic cloths. How would you do silk? Silk is stipples. Just thousands of tiny stipple dots. Hey, Darnell. What's up, buddy? How you doing there, sir? Merry Christmas to you from Las Vegas, or over in Las Vegas. Hope you're doing well, brother. Levi. Use PVA glue with sand and it's separated in a sheet. How do I not have this happen? You need to mix the PVA glue with some water so it more evenly spreads out. How would you base pollution such as tar, soot, and ash and other forms of trash? Wait, like, not many hours until tomorrow and watch a video, and there you'll see a mini that I did with a polluted base, and that'll give you an idea. Look at that video. In the video that's coming tomorrow, you're going to see such a mini, and then if you've got questions, ask me. Let's see. Happy holidays, Vince. I don't have an aesthetic visual eye, so I was wondering what helped you the most to hone that part of the hobby where you can decide what colors look good. Yeah, I mean, neither do I. Just a good old-fashioned color wheel, my friend, and understanding, triadic and split and complementary and quadratic color schemes and stuff like that. Just keep one of those bad boys handy. Go look at other painting, other artists, and see what worked well. And there you go. Vince from AOS next year, what would you love to see? A complete redesign of the Skaven line and a Skaven book to go with it. All right, there you go. So with that, I think we're going to basically call it. I went a little longer than I should, but I thank you, everyone. If you've got any final questions, you can pop them in here as I'm wrapping up. Great content, Vince. Which paint tastes, smells the best? Oh, it's definitely that Scale 75 artist stuff. It tastes like mint. Don't eat your paint. It's dangerous. It's toxic. Don't eat paint. But if you happen to accidentally get some of that on your tongue, that Scale 75 artist tube stuff tastes like mints. All right. If you scratch build larger models, how do you smooth out joins, mashup seams? Plastic sprue goo. I have a video on making sprue goo. That's how I smooth everything out. There you go. Well, there we go. We caught up. We got to the end of it. And I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who showed up, who asked questions. I really appreciate all of you. And I do hope you all have a wonderful Christmas if you celebrate that. At the very minimum, a New Year, whatever holidays you celebrate. I hope at least you get some time off this time of year to spend with your family, with your friends. I hope you get some good painting in. I hope you have a wonderful, 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 at the very least, vacation, Christmas, holiday, New Year, whatever. And if I didn't answer your question or you have more, just drop them down in the comments after the video. I will, as always, be happy to answer any questions. But I thank you guys so very much for this past year, for the channel growing, for you watching. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, do all those things. I really appreciate all of it. You're going to see some, I hope, growth in the channel, like into how I make videos and stuff like that in the new year. This is a time where I'm thinking a lot about how to improve the channel. So I'm thankful for all of you. You are all my best gift. And I wish you all the happiest of holidays. And as always, we'll see you next time.